WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. Bloomington, Indiana is home to a wide range of live music events and venues. More info on upcoming performances at musicbloomington.com.
We're going to take a trip right now. Like we always do about this time.
This is a journey into sound. Break it down.
I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. Up first, on this week's show, we'll listen back to my 2022 interview with Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson of Medicine Singers.
Our Indian culture is just as good as equal to the white culture that's out there. The two can exist together. They can work together.
And on the second half of the broadcast, we'll have another edition of Rebel Music with Karla Lopez-Owens, an ongoing series that explores the relationship between music and activism. Karla's guest will be Carolina Castoreno. Carolina has served as the executive director of the American Indian Center of Indiana. Her work is centered around the preservation of Native identity, decolonization efforts, and education for and of the indigenous peoples of the Americas.
Most people who are Native living in the state of Indiana are actually here due to relocation or some sort of migration, like my family.
Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson is a clan chief of the Pocasset Wampanoag tribe of the Pokanoket Nation. He's also the founder and director of the Eastern Medicine Singers, an Algonquin powwow group from Providence, Rhode Island. In recent years, the Eastern Medicine Singers have gained notoriety for their collaboration with Yonatan Gat, an Israeli guitarist best known for his work with the punk rock band Monotonics. Yonatan Gat and Eastern Medicine Singers issued their first full-length collaborative project last year. That album was titled Medicine Singers, a joint release through the Indianapolis label Joyful Noise Recordings and Stone Tapes. The Medicine Singers' debut received significant attention. Pitchfork praised the album for highlighting the debt that rock music owes to Native American music, and the Fader described the album as bridging the gap between deep-rooted tradition and the avant-garde. We'll start this week's show with the first 3 tracks off the album. This is Medicine Singers with A Cry, Daybreak, and Hawk Song.
The beginning of our people and our language. Much of it has been lost, and I am now trying to compile it. My father, Chief Sachem of the Wampanoags. I, his daughter, Cathetha, now talking.
We just heard 3 tracks from Medicine Singers, a collaborative project featuring the Israeli guitarist Yonatan Gat and the Eastern Medicine Singers, a Native American powwow group based in Providence, Rhode Island. Last year, I spoke with Eastern Medicine Singers founder Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson. Though Daryl grew up attending powwows, he didn't perform the music until adulthood. Daryl told me the Eastern Medicine Singers were formed as part of an outreach effort to teach the language and culture of the Eastern Algonquin people to children. Let's join my conversation with Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson. Can you tell me a little bit more about your background and, your relationship to this music, how it developed through the years?
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, young kid, my father used to take me to the powwows, and one of the ones that I remember the most was the Nipmuc powwow at the Hassanamisset Reservation, Hassanamisco. And good friends of my father's were on the council over there. And we used to go there every year when I was a young man, and I heard the drums and the drums that were playing. They were playing, a lot of, traditional music at that time. And so I looked for it every year, it was always cool to me, to go see that. And then sometimes we'd go up the Mohawk Trail. They used to have powwows up there. I was lucky to be able to hear that. And then later in life, I mean, I didn't have any musical background per se at all. And then later in life is when I picked up the drumming. I actually picked the drumming up because I was teaching kids culture at a local 501c3, the Rhode Island Indian Council, on Broad Street in Providence. And the kids were dancing to Western style music. And that's when a bunch of us got together and decided we would try and play and do our own songs, do our own songs for the kids while we were doing that culture class. We started out doing a few older songs that we had heard around, and then I started doing, our own type of language songs and everything. And I was fortunate. I had, before, in early 2000, my father died in 2000, and then I met a gentleman right after that. His name was Clinton Wixon. In his language, it was Nakia Hammock, which was he was Chief Lightning Foot of the Massachusetts, and he was also of the Wampanoag, Pokanoket Nation. And he was a fluent speaker of the Wampanoag language in the Massachusetts. And he took me and another gentleman under his arm, and he instructed us in, the language. And I'm not saying I'm a fluent speaker because there's just so much to learn. I could never say that I was. I could say that I can understand it, and I have a gift, that I can hear it and write it. And because I think that I heard the language spoken a real way, I understand how the words go together, where somebody just learned it from a book will never get that. You're never going to get it from a book. You have to hear it, and I heard it. I heard it when I was young, and I heard it when I got older. So I think it just resonated in me. When we had that program with the kids, I was walking down on a reservation one day towards a burial ground by the water. I was walking down there. I had like a quick premonition. Some people call it a vision. I just think I was just almost dreaming. And I looked out and I saw, old style dancers dancing around the graveyard for a split second. And then then it was normal after that. But after that, it was like I started getting the magic of the drum and the music and the language. Things just started snapping in my head. And I came up with the very first song, that I had wrote, and we practiced it. And we kept bringing songs, and I started to write a few songs, and then I took some old songs from one of the earlier groups, the Nipmuc Turtle Drum. They were part of that Hassana-Minisco Reservation people at that time, and they had some older songs that I remembered them. So from that, I was able to do some powwowing, because I had enough songs to go and play for a couple hours and keep the kids entertained. And that's kind of how our career took off. We went to my tribal powwow that we had for the children, and one of the drums couldn't make it, so they asked us to play, and we played, and the rest was history. People loved us because we were doing the language and everything, and it just took off after that. And it was amazing. It was amazing. And we did it because we loved it. And we did it because we wanted to help the kids,
Let's pause and listen to another track from Medicine Singer's debut album. This is Sanctuary. That was Medicine Singers with Sanctuary. Medicine Singers is a collaborative project featuring the Israeli guitarist Yonatan Gat and the Eastern Medicine Singers, a Native American powwow group. They met in 2017 during a performance at the South by Southwest Music Festival in Austin, Texas. I asked Daryl to share his memories of that encounter.
When I met Yonatan, we were at South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and we were on a project bringing Rhode Island artists to Texas, and then bringing Texas artists to Rhode Island, to perform and stuff. So we were playing at it was the Spider House Cafe ballroom down in Austin, and we were outside playing, and I saw these two guys looking at us, and I'm like, who the heck are these guys? They kept coming out watching us, and we were playing, having a good time. People would dance, and we didn't care. And then all of a sudden, they talked to Ray and Toolbox, and Ray came over to me. He goes, hey, those guys, they want us to play with them, And I said, what guys? He goes, those two that were sitting there, they're musicians. I said, yeah. What do they play? He says, well, they play rock and roll. It's just, well, I don't know. I mean, we've always been a traditional drum and stuff, but we've done other projects with other, different nationalities and drums and stuff. And so they came out and they're like, just come in here and set up here. And we set up the drum and we started playing for the audience, and people were screaming, crying. They loved it, When I said, all right, we did a song. Let's go. So we walked out, and I guess what happened was people were like screaming encore for us to come back. So Yonatan came out and got me, and he goes, they want you to play. You got to come back. You got to play the rest of the show. He goes, this is sick. We got to do it. So I went in there and we played for the rest of the show. And kind of that's how we started. We all shook hands and parted, and traded phone numbers and everything, and said, let's stay in touch. And we did. We got to get together for a little bit of an East Coast tour, and we played in D.C. and Philly, and that went well. And then we decided, you know what, we're gonna put something else. I guess we did. We played some pretty cool shows around and stuff, and then we started traveling. It's just getting bigger and bigger. So it was kind of, you know, okay, well, we're bringing our music and our language all over the world, and we're doing it with a guy who we like, who's a cool guy, and he's got a vision of music, and, you know, it just turned into something bigger than I ever thought it would be.
During those first interactions with Jonathan, did you see any sort of parallels or see any sort of connection between the types of music you were making and he was making, where they kind of locked together? Or were you just kind of trying to figure that all out, or just going with the vibe of what he was doing?
At first, I mean, we kind of went with the vibe. You know, we had been used to doing that at other collaborations. And then, you know, I think after we did it a few times, we started clicking, and we then started feeling each other out.
Cultural Manifesto will return after this short break. I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. On this week's show, we're listening back to my 2022 interview with Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson, a clan chief of the Pocasset Wampanoag tribe of the Pokanoket Nation, and a co-founder of Medicine Singers. Medicine Singers' full-length debut album was issued last year in partnership with the Indianapolis label Joyful Noise Recordings. The Medicine Singers' debut album received widespread acclaim. Pitchfork praised the album for highlighting the debt that rock music owes to Native American music. And the connection between Native American music and rock and roll is best heard on the track Sunrise, Rumble, a radical reinvention of guitarist Link Wray's 1958 rock and roll classic Rumble. Link Wray was of Native American heritage and identified as Shawnee. We'll hear that track next. But first, I asked Daryl to share his thoughts on the connection between Native American music and rock and roll.
There was a documentary about, you know, Indians and rock and roll and Rumble and everything. And, you know, you look at it and it's like, yeah, there's a lot of similarities and stuff. And, you know, we go wild sometimes on the stage with the drums, and the intensity when you're playing like that goes really, really high. And it's like, it matches the power of the, you know, the rock and roll sound with the guitar and everything. And I mean, there are times when you're just like, you're playing and you're on another planet, you know, with all of this going on at the same time.
This is Medicine Singers with Sunrise, Rumble. We just heard Medicine Singers performing Sunrise, Rumble. On this week's show, we're listening back to my 2022 conversation with Medicine Singers co-founder Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson. Medicine Singers' debut album featured a variety of guest collaborators, including experimental musicians like Laraji and Jamie Branch, and Native American voices, including Joe Rainey Sr. from the Red Lake Band of Chippewa and Jan Wapishana of the Wapishana tribe in northeast Brazil. I asked Daryl if he was concerned that purists or traditionalists would critique the album's radical mix of cultural influences.
Yeah, hey, there'll be some out there that want to take shots and everything, but am I going to listen to them? No.
How do you feel about putting this record out? I mean, it seems like you're very proud of the work you've done. Are you excited for the release of this album and for people to experience this unique sound you all have created?
Yeah, I am. I'm proud of it. I sat back and listened to it again on SoundCloud last night, and I'm like, this is really a cool album. And the thing is that we have a Western styled guy in there from the Plains that did music, and his contribution was just as great as us, as far as the song that he did and everything. And I don't think that people are going to be criticizing it as much as one would think, because you got different nations in there doing stuff. We have a brother on my drum that he lived on Pine Ridge. He speaks both Wampanoag and he speaks, Lakota.
Yeah.
And he's also in there, so this album's really a flash of different culture,
Yeah, Jonathan told me there's
of
a South American indigenous vocalist as well from northern Brazil.
Yeah, and he does an excellent job. And that's why we said it's medicine. It's a medicine singers, because it really is. It's like all these, where else can you get out to different natives coming together and singing on an album? I mean, it's just unheard of. It's either the style or the other, but now you got, east, south, southeast, the deep southeast, and you got, west, and we're all singing together and stuff and doing something together. So, I mean, it's really, I don't think it's going to take as much criticism as people think it is. There's a lot of native rappers out there people don't like. There's a lot of, I mean, I know some guys out there that are friends of mine that do native rap in Canada and right here in Rhode Island, and people give them, some people criticize them, but they're still famous. They're still doing good. They're selling records, So, I mean, and, they got their own style.
That desire to criticize like Native American rappers and projects like this, what do you think that says about how people in North America perceive Native American indigenous people?
That's why we need to do this project.
Yeah.
That's because people need to see that everything's not black and white, Every Indian doesn't look the same. I'm not going to look the same as a Lakota, and an Indian from Manitoba is not going to look the same as me, as well as Inuit. It's not going to look the same, and they all have different styles of singing. Look, they have throat singing. I don't know anything about throat singing, but that's their tradition and their style. Who am I to criticize it? And who is somebody who doesn't even know my language to criticize what I'm doing? And it's kind of the way I look at it. I mean, and that's why people like us need to come out and show the world that, first of all, my whole thing was to show people that our Indian culture is just as good as equal to the regular mainstream, white culture that's out there. The two can exist together. They can work together, and they can blend together. Lots of other people do it. You see it all the time. I've seen people that are orchestra players, and they got, different types of dances out there, or they might have somebody who's a folk singer come in and do a piece with them. So it's no different for us. It's experimental art. That's what it is. That's what we want to do. We're going to show the world experimental art from the Eastern Algonquin side of the world, and hope they like it.
We've been listening back to my 2022 conversation with Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson of Medicine Singers. Their debut album was issued last year through the Indianapolis label Joyful Noise Recordings. We'll end with Medicine Singers' latest release, Honor Song, featuring the legendary guitarist Lee Ronaldo, best known for his work with Sonic Youth. I'm Kyle Long, and you're listening to Cultural Manifesto. We just heard Honor Song, the latest release from Medicine Singers. Up next, we have another edition of Rebel Music with Karla Lopez-Owens.
This is Karla Lopez, and you're listening to Rebel Music on Cultural Manifesto. Me llamo Karla López y estás escuchando a Música Rebelde en Manifesto Cultural. Rebel Music explores the relationship between music and activism in Indiana and around the globe. My guest this week is the activist, writer, and community organizer Carolina Castoreno. Carolina identifies as both American Indian and Mexican Indian. She's a citizen of the Lipan Apache tribe of Texas and a descendant of Mesocalero Apache and Yaqui tribes. Carolina has served as the executive director of the American Indian Center of Indiana. Her work is centered around the preservation of Native identity, decolonization efforts, and education for and of Indigenous peoples of the Americas. Let's join our conversation with Carolina Castoreno. Hi, Carolina. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hi, Carla. Thank you for having me.
We're going to listen to some music and talk about your work as an activist. Like you, I am a Mexican-American of Indigenous descent, but my family didn't maintain a strong connection to our Indigenous roots. Did you grow up with a strong tie to the Indigenous culture?
I did. So I'm an enrolled citizen of my tribe, which is the Lipan Apache tribe of Texas. I'm also of Mescalero Apache descent. And then my grandmother was of Purépecha descent from Guanajuato, her family originally coming from Michoacan. So on that side of the family, definitely more Mexican, kind of the national identity there. But with my grandfather's side, we were raised traditionally Apache.
And I've seen photos that you have shared on social media of your dad attending powwows. What influence did your family have in exposing you to your Indigenous culture?
I very much grew up in the powwow circuit. My father was always dancing and encouraged us children to dance. And, he even made our traditional regalia from when we would attend these events. And then my family always at these events growing up had a taco stand. So we were selling food. So it was a bit of getting culture and also a side hustle.
I love that. According to the Indiana.gov website, there are more than 100 Native American tribes represented in Indiana. You have worked as the director of the American Indian Center of Indiana. Can you give us a sense of present-day culture of Native Americans in Indiana?
Sure. So Indiana is interesting, kind of unique. There are other states like us as well, but we're what's considered a total urban Indian population because we don't have any reservations here. We do have tribal presence as far as the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi, but they are considered a Michigan tribe as their reservation is based in Dowagiac, on the other side of the border, the Indiana-Michigan border. Other than that, all of the tribes that are traditionally from this area have been removed, and most of them are in Oklahoma now. So that is why you see such a diversity of tribes represented here, because most people who are native living in the state of Indiana are actually here due to relocation or some sort of migration, like my family.
And your work as an activist goes beyond domestic issues. You've been a very vocal advocate for the Palestinian cause. Why has it been important for you to speak about that issue?
For me, land back is not something we just talk about in the United States. Land back is a global issue for Indigenous people and asserting our rights. I have been involved with the Palestinian cause for more than 10 years. I want to say dating back to like 2012, honestly. And it's just something that's very much at the heart because the parallels for what has been done to the Palestinian people, and especially in the Gaza Strip, it's so reminiscent of the putting us into the reservation system here in the United States, removing us from our home and taking away our means of living. You know, you hear about the olive trees and groves being burned in Palestine, taking away people's livelihoods. And that's basically what they did to us. They took away our means of hunting and our way of life and put us onto this reservation system where now we have the quality of life that we do, where Native Americans in the U.S., we have the lowest life expectancy, the highest rate of diabetes and heart disease, highest rate of suicide, especially in our youth, missing and murdered Indigenous women, and alcoholism and addiction. There's just so many. And so when I see what has been done to us in this country and really this hemisphere, my heart bleeds for the Palestinian people, because this is a modern-day genocide and ethnic cleansing.
How does music connect to your work as an activist?
I am listening to music all day long. And so what I love about revolutionary type music is bringing that entertainment piece with the social conscious. And so I feel there are so many songs that motivate me in any given aspect of my work, but I just feel like it is kind of like what gets your adrenaline going, it's that poetry put to rhyme and rhythm that really just kind of motivates you.
The first song you brought to share is Quechua 101, Land Back Please, by Bobby Sanchez. Bobby is a very unique artist. Tell us about this song and about Bobby Sanchez.
So Bobby Sanchez is a two-spirit Quechua identifying individual from South America. And this particular song is so important because it's combining the land back movement with language revitalization while condemning colonialism. And so the majority of the song is in Quechua, and you'll hear at the beginning just saying certain words like you're learning. Like even you'll hear quinoa in there, which is just a food, but it's a Quechua word. And so kind of reasserting that some of the words that we use in our everyday life still come from our indigenous languages. And then starts going into kind of like the bars, really talking about colonialism, and then rounds it out in English. You know, please don't talk to me about decolonization while you're still speaking in the colonizer's language. And then going through talking about what colonialism has done to us, and the fact that even speaking the few words that you're able to learn in your mother tongue, your indigenous language, is a form of resistance, because globally, but especially in the Western Hemisphere, there's been such an intentional effort by the colonial powers to eradicate our languages.
Wari, Chanka, Moche, Nazca, Pacha, Mama, Quechua, Aymara, Imaina, Yam, Sumak, Sumakta, Aya, Kuchana, Viru, Wanta, Titi, Kaha, Uru, Bamba, Quinoa, Tacna, Kaha, Marca, Ata, Walpa, Waina, Kapak, Mama, Okyo, Manko, Kapak, Sumakta, Kausa, Kusum, Paya, Mama, Ita, Purinkin.
Up next, we are going to listen to Somos Sur by Ana Tijoux and Sharia Mansour. Ana Tijoux is a hip-hop artist from Chile, and Sharia Mansour is of Palestinian descent. She's been called the First Lady of Arabic hip-hop. Tell us about this piece.
I absolutely love this piece because it is the embodiment of solidarity for Latinos, especially South America, with the Palestinian resistance movement. And what is beautiful about that in this song, it's giving a voice to the voiceless. It's if you have ever been silenced, if you have ever been omitted from history or from the discussion, about how your lives are affected by these colonial powers, this song is for you. And they go through the list of countries that have been affected by colonialism, and more specifically that in modern times, in the 20th and 21st century, the United States has a direct hand in affecting their quality of life and what is going on in those countries. So, and then to pair that with what's going on in Palestine, it is a beautiful moment of solidarity. So there's Spanish, a little bit of English mixed with Arabic as well.
Tú nos dices que debemos sentarnos, pero las ideas solo pueden levantarnos, caminar, recorrer, no rendirse ni retroceder, ver, aprender como esponja, absorber. Nadie sobre todos, faltan todos, suman todos para todos, todo para nosotros. Soñamos en grande que se caiga el imperio, lo gritamos algo, no queda más remedio. Esto no es utopía, es alegre rebeldía del baile de los que sobran de la danza tuya y mía. Levantarnos para decir llevar, ni África ni América Latina se suba. Con barro, con casco, con lápiz a patear el fiasco, provocar un social terremoto en este charco.
The next song you brought to share is R.E.D. by the Canadian electronic music group Hallucination. This track features the hip-hop legend Yasiin Bey. Can you tell us why you chose this song?
This is one of my go-to songs I listen to on a regular basis. Hallucination is formerly known as A Tribe Called Red. They redid their name in honor of a very important poem by John Trudell, who is an amazing activist who is also both of Northern U.S. Native American ancestry as well as Mexican. And it was an homage to him and all the activism and poetry work that he did surrounding surviving colonization. And then Yasiin Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, has always been known in the rap world as being a conscious hip hop artist. So what this song is this is another moment of solidarity where in the song they actually refer to why the Black community and the Indigenous community stay so strong together, and then talking about specific issues, like you'll hear them talking about what's going on with Mother Earth and then other forms of colonialism as well. It also mixes traditional powwow drum music with hip-hop, and so kind of also just reiterates that we are current contemporary people of the present and not just someone of the past.
Showing living by the G code. What fleek though? Don't ask them, what do we know? What I forgot is better than whatever they remember. Never mind, I'm off it, it's quiet form. Time to put the temper tantrums to the quiet corner. Hush, that's enough, said the ruler. No suckers allowed to break bread or asunder. The daylight, lightning, and the thunder. The sun, moon, the stars, and the hunger. Abundance in bundles.
The final track you selected is Immigrants, We Get the Job Done, from the Hamilton mixtape. This song has become an anthem for many immigrants and activists. Why does this song speak to you?
I love, first of all, that it's playing off of another, phenomenon in pop culture, which is the Hamilton musical, which was something groundbreaking as far as using people of color for these traditionally white roles. So that's in itself is already great. But I also love the unification of people from different immigrant backgrounds coming into this song. And I love Snow the Product. I love Residente. So getting more familiarized with the other two artists was great. But there's a really important line in this song by Snow the Product that just really sticks out to me. And she's talking about us being in the shadows. And we talk a lot about undocumented immigrants having to live in the shadows. But then she says we're America's ghostwriters. And I think that is such a powerful bar right there. So I love the song that it is reiterating, this country would not run if it wasn't for immigrants. But then also this unification of people from such different backgrounds, but have this similarity, this similar experience in being immigrants in this country that is not very welcoming to immigrants, especially those of us who are brown.
Immigrants, we get the job done.
It's a hard line when you're an import, baby boy, it's hard times when you ain't sent for. Races feed the belly of the beast. with they pitchforks. Rich chores done by the people that get ignored. Ya se armó, ya se despertaron. It's a whole awakening. La alarma ya sonó hace rato. Los que quieren buscan, pero nos apodan como vagos. We're the same ones hustling on every level. Ten los datos. Walk a mile in our shoes. Abróchense los zapatos. I've been scoping y'all dudes. Y'all ain't been working like I do while y'all work ya. It hurts ya. You claim I'm stealing jobs, though. Peter Piper claimed he picked them. He just underpaid.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you would like to share with us today?
One thing I just want to say about the work that I've done here in Indiana, not only in my time as the executive director of the American Indian Center, but in my days at IUPUI, and even before that, just being an activist in the community, is I am really proud of the grassroots and activist community that we have here in Indianapolis specifically. I think that sometimes, especially for people of color, it can be very difficult growing up in the Midwest and kind of surviving the othering and the marginalization that we feel. I felt it more palpable in Indiana than other places I've lived. However, that also has created this really beautiful community that is of solidarity between Black and Brown and other oppressed groups here. So that is something that I admire, and I hope to continue working with other groups to strengthen as we go forward.
Carolina, thank you so much for being here today. You are a great inspiration to me and many other activists in these spaces. And I look forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
My guest this week has been the activist, writer, and community organizer, Carolina Castoreno. Stay tuned to Cultural Manifesto for future editions of Rebel Music. Rebel Music is produced by Kyle Long and hosted and co-produced by me, Karla Lopez-Owens. Thank you for listening.
That's all the time we have for this week. Thank you to our guests, Daryl Black Eagle Jamieson and Carolina Castoreno. Listen, download, and subscribe to the Cultural Manifesto podcast at WFYI.org or wherever you listen to podcasts. Cultural Manifesto is hosted and produced by me, Kyle Long. Thank you for listening. WFYI podcasts are brought to you by Visit Bloomington. Bloomington, Indiana is home to a wide range of live music events and venues. More info on upcoming performances at musicbloomington.com.